The James Show Podcast.
A couple of pieces of news here that are worth noting here is the clothes that you're wearing. Are they from China? Do you get clothes from China? Because if you don't, maybe your wife gets clothes from China. I know Miss Parker gets a lot of clothes from China.
Hi, Miss Parker.
And they look great on her. And they're cheap as hell. In fact, you got what from China? Toys from China? Well, we've been getting toys from China. But Ken Paxton isn't suing toy makers from China. He's suing these retailers that are selling you clothes that are so cheap. You should be suspicious of it. You should be suspicious. Like Miss Parker got me a shirt for like $4 from China. Now, how the hell are you going to make a shirt for $4, ship it all the way across to the other side of the planet, and still make a profit at $4? You have to be making these things out of material that's free and probably using forced free labor. Oh, now you know why it's so damn cheap. Yeah, when you see those like the Uyghur Muslims in the concentration camps in the far west provinces of China, are they the ones that just glued together those cheap shoes that you're wearing? Those wedges look great on you. But not if they're made from slaves. Here's WFAA.
Back with your top consumer news, starting with Ken Paxton launching a new investigation into fast fashion giant Shein. The Texas Attorney General claims Shein is using unethical labor practices and toxic materials in its products in violation of state law. Paxton issued a statement saying, quote, "I will not allow cheap, dangerous foreign goods to flood America and jeopardize our health." It's not the first time the company has come under fire for its working conditions, but Shein says it's improved conditions in its supply chain and said it has zero tolerance for forced labor just last year.
Well, and this has been a sort of a known secret. It's been something that we all know something's going on there, but we like hitting the cheap stuff, you know? But this is kind of our fault in some ways. Do you remember, let's go back in the Wayback Machine. I know Garrett probably doesn't remember because he was like 1 year old. But in the 90s, remember when Walmart did the Made in America campaign? And in the TV commercials, you had the Have a Nice Day face, the smiley face that was running around smashing prices, and there was an American flag everywhere. You remember that, Garrett? Yeah, but the ones that were specifically pro-American, why did they stop? Why did they go away? Because they tried this social experiment right in front of all of our faces for a couple years, where they would put a bin out there, and there would be a football, and it would be made in America, and it would be $4, and then there would be in the next bin a football that you don't know where it was made from because they didn't tell you, so it was $3. We kept buying the $3 football instead of the $4 football, so the program ran away. If it was a raging success, they wouldn't have stopped it. So you and I have chosen that we would take cheap over Made in America any day. And for you and me, making our own little individual decisions, that is what's best for us. And in fact, that's the right decision to make. And so there's no harm that comes from that, because instead of spending $4, we only spent $3, so now we have $1 to spend somewhere else where we can go out to eat, or we can buy something that maybe is made in America, or we can, go entertain ourselves or donate to Cumulus Kids Toy Drive. But that economic output that was saved was put to good use elsewhere, either for your own edification or maybe reinvested back into the economy or something to that effect, but somebody else's business got it. But it's been such a known, dare I call, secret that in the last season, Saturday Night Live did a parody of it. And so the guy was calling it Shein. Miss Parker calls it Sheen. And so I'm going to,
Hi, Miss Parker.
Since she is an international linguistics expert, I'm going to go with her pronunciation. But in the SNL skit, they combine Sheen plus Timu to make Shimu. And so it's just like a little 90-second fake commercial. It's hilarious.
Shimu. Fast fashion from China. Buy online now. Style for less.
Way less.
Unbeatable prices. Dress, $10. Shoes, $5.
How so cheap?
Don't worry about it. Men's t-shirt, $3. Not made with forced labor.
Okay.
Modern styles, designer dupes. No prisoners involved.
Did there used to be or something? Why bring that up?
Tank tops, $3.99. New merch daily. Fresh fits. No prisoners. Normal number of working hours each week.
So like 40 or... or what?
Don't worry about it. Matching sets, $250. All workers paid, even ones with wrong religion. Wait, what? Shimu, best factories, happiest workers.
Oh wait, there's like a note sewn in my jacket.
That's a thank you note from a happy worker. Best materials. Quality craftsmanship.
Oh.
Premium fabrics with no lead.
See, that makes me think there is lead in this.
No lead. Good clothes. Best prices. Minimal lead.
You said no lead.
Kind of smells like gasoline.
Okay, this is giving shady. Be real, is this shady?
If it was, would you stop buying it?
No.
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 Maybe. No.
Great. Shimu. Don't worry about it.
My shoe.
Yeah, relax. So you got a couple slaves making shirts made of toxic materials. There's all kinds of lead in it. No big deal. It saves a few bucks. Well, that's what Ken Paxton is investigating on our behalf right now because we're too stupid to stop ourselves from buying toxic clothes from slaves. All right, now my next guest is going to be something special here. You've been hearing him on the James Show for a while now, but the Dallas Express just got a White House press pass. I know, how huge is that? And so now, strange as it may sound, the second most populous state in the nation, Texas, actually has a voice finally in the press room. Because Chris Putnam, isn't Dallas Express the only Texas-owned, Texas-based media outlet in the White House press room right now?
We are, in fact, yeah. And a lot of folks don't realize that most of the local news print dailies in Texas, in fact, every single one in every major city in Texas, including Dallas now, is owned by either a New York City-based media conglomerate like Hearst Media, who owns the Dallas Morning News, or a New Jersey hedge fund that, like the one that owns the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, or as I like to call them, the New Jersey Star-Telegram. So yeah, like as I looked around here and surveyed the field, there's no other Texas-owned outlets here.
Well, you were telling me, because we were texting earlier, that the hottest story in D.C. isn't the Somali grift where they're stealing taxpayer dollars. It's not the immigration pause. It's not the economy. It's the Venezuelan boat. Why is such a big deal in D.C. right now?
Well, it's pretty much all anybody's talking about. There was a lot of conversation about it. In fact, at the cabinet meeting, which was just down the hall from me yesterday. And look, it's one of these stories. It's just an absolute perfect example of how we have just lost our way with the truth and in media generally, with just this domination of, far left big media conglomerate outlets out there like the New York Times, like the LA Times, like CNN, etc. They're trying to make the story strictly about Pete Hegseth and whether or not, the administration is illegally taking out these Venezuelan drug boats. And then, of course, they've just been persecuting him now for a long time about, to try to get rid of him, of course. This is Hegseth. When the real story is we're in a war. We are in a war with a narco-terrorist state, Venezuela, with a completely corrupt, illegitimate leader, Maduro, who is purposely flooding our system, our American system, in our country, and our kids, with cocaine and fentanyl. It's deliberate in order to weaken our country, in order to weaken the administration. That's the story.
Well, here's what I don't like about this story. If we're at war, just say we're at war. Don't say this is all about fentanyl. This isn't about fentanyl. This is about Maduro. And so it seems like the drugs are just the pretext of what they're saying to excuse the boat strikes for now. But if this was about drugs, you'd be striking boats from Colombia or Mexico before you would bother with Venezuela. So I think this is kind of a sneaky way to do an act of war with just claiming it's all about drug enforcement.
And so we literally, right as I was talking to you, broke a story that might change your perspective a little bit. So the Venezuela is basically the Costco of the drug trafficking trade. Okay. They actually source cocaine from places like Colombia, Bolivia, Peru, and those producers basically, sell it to them wholesale. They turn around, package it all up because they have this governmental system that is basically in the drug trafficking business, and so nobody bothers them. And they perform interdiction on behalf of their traffickers, etc. They turn around, retail it to Mexico, who then delivers it to the United States. It is a $2.7 trillion cartel, the Venezuelan government, that's run by Maduro. And the story we just broke literally just seconds ago is that there's a former military intelligence head of Maduro's, also for Hugo Chavez, that he's basically now exposing everything that they've been up to on that front. And there's a lot of folks that in the United States, even deep staters, that don't want that information to become public. And so what we just published was an actual letter to the president from this former intelligence head that was delivered to the president today, and details everything that I just explained to you.
All right, we're talking with Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express, who is now in the White House press pool this week. So you had actually tweeted out a picture, and I guess that's you sitting in the press room. It's in that blue room that we always see with the press conferences, on an almost daily basis. And it looks so small in your pictures versus what we see on TV.
Yeah, that's because it's really small.
Right?
It's really small and not terribly comfortable. And, one of your first observations is this is that, other than being there and being in the White House, it's not that glamorous. And in fact, one of the assistant press secretaries led me down today to where, the White House staff actually works, which is directly behind the main briefing room that you see there on television. And they are packed in there like sardines. It's like a college dormitory. It's actually really wild. And so you're allowed to roam a fair amount of the grounds pretty freely. And, of course, it's beautiful and there's hardly anybody out there. And then you get in this room, it's just crammed full of people. And the way it works, actually, is you're not alerted as to if there's going to be a press conference that day, a press briefing. Occasionally, there'll be a heads up. Monday was a rare day because they did it on Monday, coming off the holiday. They haven't actually done one since. And so a lot of correspondents literally sit in that room 8 or 9 hours a day, working, writing, etc., waiting for a press briefing. And that's what I've done the last 2 days until I popped out just outside here to talk to you all.
Well, is there any buzz in D.C. about Jasmine Crockett's special announcement coming up on Monday? Because it is kind of a big deal around here, and it's gotten a little bit of traction with the locals on social media. But does that even register in D.C.?
I mean, I haven't heard too much about it while I've been up here.
You think they would care? Because, it's hard to argue that she is the face of the Democrat Party right now. Who is on TV more than she is? Who is on the Sunday shows and Meet the Press and all these other outlets and CNN more than Jasmine Crockett has been in the last month? And that answer is zero.
No, it's true. And as you and I have discussed before, it's her act is very purposeful, and it's designed very purposely to incentivize national small donors and fundraising, and she's excellent at it. Whenever I talk about Congresswoman Crockett, I talk about the fact that, all these influencers and other folks that maybe aren't as sophisticated as to how these campaigns work don't understand there's nothing dumb about her. It's theater, it's an act, but there's nothing dumb about her. She has an insane war chest. Could she run a statewide race? Yes, but I still don't think that most people, as it relates to her entering that race, feel like it's serious. I believe that they think that it's just yet another fundraising tactic.
So there's no doubt. I should say there's very little doubt. I'm at about 95% that she's going to announce on Monday that she's running for Senate. You agree with that premise?
I don't know.
Okay. Less sure than me then, huh?
No, I've been right a lot, as you know, but I'm available to be wrong. Again, I'm a little skeptical. Does she have the statewide name ID and brand recognition to do it? Absolutely. Does she have a healthy war chest? Yes, but the war chest that it takes to run a statewide race, you're talking $50 to $100 million. She has $4.5 million. So there will have to be other third parties that are interested in promoting her as a statewide candidate for Senate, and I just don't think that most people seriously believe.
Let's continue this discussion after the news break. We have a special guest, Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express, who's calling us live from the White House because someone got a White House press pass. Are you the only Texan in the White House press pool right now? You mentioned that you're from the only Texas-owned based outlet, but is there anyone from any TV station or newspaper or magazine or any Texas outlet at all up there besides you?
Well, I haven't checked everybody's IDs, James, but
you would recognize them, wouldn't you?
But what I can tell you is that, Hearst Media obviously has, somebody that's here full time in the White House, as well as McClatchy, who is the formerly bankrupt company out of California that was purchased by Chatham Asset Management, which is a hedge fund out of New Jersey that now owns the Star Telegram. So I don't know if any of the individuals here are Texans or not. I will tell you, there's a number of Texans on the White House press team, including a fellow Horned Frog alumni that I just had the pleasure of meeting today. So
who's that?
Plenty of Texans at the White House. Don't know about the briefing room.
Okay. Who's the other TCU alumni? Someone we know?
Her name is Olivia Wales, and she's an assistant press secretary and kind of shepherding things there. It's funny, they have a room, as I mentioned in the previous segment, where the White House press staff sits literally behind, the briefing room past the sliding door that you see on television, and they're just all camped out in there like sardines, working like crazy. It's wild. Okay,
but I got to warn you, Mr. Putnam, that's the second time you've used the word literally in this interview. I don't know if you've been hanging out with Jasmine Crockett too much, or I don't know, you've been hanging out with a bunch of 20-year-olds.
I can't compete with her eyelashes. So
no, but you're starting to sound like my daughter and her friends. Literally, like every sentence, literally. All right, now, let me tell you why I think Jasmine Crockett's running, and you tell me if I'm crazy or not, Mr. Putnam from Dallas Express. The path to winning the Senate is a steep one. She could win the primary. She's the biggest Democrat in Texas, hands down. But the likelihood that she wins general, not as optimistic about that one. However, this is the springboard that she could use to be on the stage for the presidential primary coming up. And look, it's almost 2026. I mean, that's really starting about a year from now. You realize that, Chris? In about a year from now, primary season is going to start. And if you're asking for any precedent on that, I would tell you, hell yes, there's a precedent. Beto O'Rourke. Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15. Remember that guy? His only accomplishment was losing the Senate race in Texas, and he was in the primary system, taken serious enough to be on stage. Now, he stunk, and he didn't get anywhere, but I think that's Jasmine's path. This isn't about winning the Texas Senate race. I mean, if she does good, that's not likely. But I think she sees this as the stepping stone for something much bigger, being on the primary stage for president starting in 2027. What do you think?
Well, as you rightly pointed out, a lot of candidates will do just that. They'll put themselves in a statewide race in order to fortify that name ID, to get closer to some of the big donors, many of which who support Democrats. As you know, Democrat candidates in Texas are from out of state. I can't recall what the exact amount of money that Beto raised outside Texas was, but it was an extraordinary amount of money the first time when he ran against Cruz. And if you'll recall, that actually was a close race.
Oh, yeah. Beto got close. Beto scared us for a little bit.
Yeah. But you made another good point. Well, you made a point that I'm not going to contradict, but what I'll say is a lot of things happen in a year in politics. Voters' memories tend to be very short. I personally don't see her as a credible candidate for Senate in the statewide race. I think it requires a much more moderate Democrat, that's not as what's the right term?
Not as far left.
I can use for,
well, see, I don't think she's far left. She's not on the political spectrum. She's not in line with the Bernie Sanders. She's not a Marxist. In fact, she doesn't talk much about economics or policy that deeply at all. Most of her attacks are shallow. Oh, he's a racist. He's a sexist. He's a bigot. Go ahead.
That's why I always characterize it as theater. Jasmine, this is my personal assessment, is one of those politicians about Jasmine. And it's about, Jasmine's career path in politics. It's about how much money Jasmine can raise. It's about Jasmine. I don't know that she stands for much of anything, other than staying in Washington, D.C. as long as possible and getting as far and as high as she can. And so, to your point, is she a credible candidate? Yeah. But, it's about money at that level. I mean, it just is.
Right, but I think...
The reason nobody ever touches Greg Abbott, and it gets in the universe generally. And the question is, can she bring in the kind of money that Beto did in order to credibly compete on a statewide level? And maybe that's not her objective. Maybe her objective is precisely what you said, a stepping stone to do something else, potentially even running as a primary candidate for presidency in a couple of years.
Well, look, I think the general public isn't going to see her as far left. She has the flamethrower rhetoric, but she's not running around asking for universal health care or, child care, free daycare for all. She's not doing the Mom Donnie thing where we need government-run grocery stores. She's just a flamethrower, and I think from the point of view of the average Team Blue voter, she would be seen in that sort of moderate camp like a Bill Clinton.
I don't know. I have a hard time buying it just because of the rhetoric.
Well, I know, and I think that's a good thing, because Bill Clinton, not a staunch Marxist, he's not a principled guy who wants to grow government, and so it was only under that scenario the last time we got a balanced budget. So these guys that are lefties but not hardcore in their principles, I think that's a plus for America. Anyway, Chris?
I got to say, you're the first person I've heard compare Bill Clinton to Jasmine Crockett.
Well, that doesn't mean I'm wrong. It just means I'm insightful. Thank you very much. Chris Putnam.
Incredibly effective politician, pragmatic, as you said. But he also,
Chris, we got to run.
Use the kind of divisive rhetoric that Jasmine has done.
All right, sorry to cut you off. We just got to run. Congratulations. This is Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express, live in the White House press corps, the only Texan representing you in the White House right now. Thank you very much for your time on The James Show. Next on The James Show is the nightmare of corrupt City Hall councilman in Dallas. It's the great Dallas EnFuego. Welcome back to The James Show. I know, right? I should be playing like, oh. This is what they see. This is what they hear every time Dallas EnFuego comes in to the public comment section of the City Hall meetings. And what do you get, like 2 minutes there?
Yeah, 2 to 3 minutes usually.
All right, and it's from that you've made a little bit of name for yourself enough to get a write-up in the Dallas Observer. First off, kind of jealous. Second up, we'll talk about that next. Where are we at with the movement on this rush to knock down City Hall and build something else?
Well, right now the city's assessing. They've commissioned an independent nonprofit to assess whether or not it would be worth to preserve and repair the building. And I made my point to City Hall last time I spoke to them about this, that this is like a child that doesn't take care of their toy, then going begging to mommy and daddy for a new one, despite the fact that they didn't upkeep it, they didn't treat it well. And this is the story of City Hall. This is the story of our city in general. I mean, our streets look like Swiss cheese. They don't take care of the stoplights. Everything is crumbling, and City Hall is no exception. So their solution is, let's just throw it away, get a new one. We'll build something else and make the taxpayers pay for it. Well, this building belongs to the city. This is the people's building. That's not City Hall's building, and I don't think that they're in a place to make a decision about whether or not we should scrap it. I think they should preserve it.
Well, here's a pretty easy prediction I'm making on the James Show. This little study that they've commissioned is going to come back and tell them exactly what they want it to say. Boy,
yes,
there's no way we could
100%.
repair this. It would be so much better and good, and it'd be an economic miracle. There'd be a renaissance. It would revitalize downtown. We've just got to knock it down and build a new one. I don't even trust this report.
Well, the funny thing about it is that, this is coming from a group of people who just all they know how to do is spend money and to solve the problems that they created. They're going to spend $5 billion on a new convention center. They're carrying $9 billion in debt, $15 billion in deferred maintenance on roads and streets. And we just don't have the money. We're broke. So this is just a completely unserious government. It's really disappointing.
So why do they want to do it so damn bad?
Well, there have been, you might have heard of Project X, and that's not Chad West's bathhouse campaign donor fundraising scheme. That's Project XXX. No, Project X is a executive session behind closed doors conversation that the city is having with the Dallas Mavericks, allegedly, because the Mavs really want this land. They can put a big arena there. They're tired of AAC. So that is what everyone is saying. They're going to try and broker a deal. And the public is apparently not allowed to be a part of this conversation.
If you walk around City Hall, there's a lot of open land that could easily be used for a new stadium. Like just sort of behind City Hall and to the east a little bit, I think you could fit a stadium there. There's a lot
of open land.
Good,
That's exactly right.
And there seems to be the footprint of the AAC would fit in about 4 other places where you don't have to knock down City Hall. That's the strangest part. Why do you have to knock down this building? You can knock down any of these other buildings around it. Why is this the one you have to knock down? I mean, there's empty buildings that you could knock down before City Hall. So
there are countless examples of different places where the Mavs could build a new arena. Another one is Valley View. That's 110 acres. It's next to 2 freeways and dart stations. It would be perfect. Another one is the actual Mavs practice facility. That's an ideal spot. You could fit 2 AACs in that footprint there and the warehouses that surround it. So it's not a matter of not having options.
I didn't even think about that. Okay, so we're talking with Dallas EnFuego. He's a local political activist here that keeps an eye on Dallas City Council. Now, how do you explain the Dallas Observer, taking such an interest in you that you get your own write-up? It's available online, but it's going to be in the print edition that drops tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. What's this all about? I haven't read it yet.
Well, the thing is I really do think that ever since I got involved in local politics, really only about a year ago, I've been very effective in what I've been doing in my approach. I'm pretty brash. I give council members nicknames, and I make these really flashy videos that are entertaining to watch, that are getting people engaged and interested in local issues that, for all intents and purposes, are boring. So I'm taking something that's boring and making it exciting and helping to wake people up about what's happening in our city and like the people who are running it. So this is, I think Emma Ruby, who wrote it, was really just fascinated by this impact that I've had, and I'm not doing it for clicks and likes, and I'm certainly not being paid. It's just because I care. I love making videos and making media and being involved, and I'd like to see more people do the same thing.
Yeah, making your city a better place. That's totally an understandable and kind of a noble ambition, Dallas EnFuego. Now, what do you make of Jasmine Crockett's special announcement coming up on Monday? This is going to be about whether or not she decides to run for the Senate. I'm about 95% thinking that she's going to run. What do you say?
Well, this is very exciting. Sheldon Daniels, who's running against her in CD30, seems to think for some reason that she's not going to, but I think she probably will. She's got big political aspirations, but the more interesting part about this is that word on the street is that the fry cook, Dallas District 7 Councilmember Adam Basil-Dua, is going to step down from his seat on city council to run in her district, and that she will endorse him right off the bat. Now, the deadline for filing is Monday. So will Baz file to run for Congress? I certainly hope he does. That would be so wonderful to get him out of off of the city council, and it would be hilarious to watch him lose in that district.
Well, you get him out of the city council, you might catapult him into a bigger, more painful position of power. That's a promotion.
Yes, perhaps. I mean, the truth is that politics and entertainment are the 2 industries where you can fail up. So he certainly does have a shot, especially with Jasmine backing him. But he is so incredibly inept that I would doubt that he would resonate with voters in that district.
All right, this is great, Dallas EnFuego. How do the people find your excellent work online, sir?
Follow me on X as Dallas EnFuego, and we've also got a wonderful Facebook group where you can chime in and express your political opinions on anything Dallas related.
All right, there he is. Thank you very much for your time, sir. I appreciate you being a watchdog in City Hall. The Guns N' Roses World Tour 2026 coming to Globe Life Field on September 9th. You can get tickets and information at livenation.com, or that's one of the prizes that the WBAP Morning Show is giving away this week. So listen to the WBAP Morning Show if you're a big Guns N' Roses fan. Maybe you can get an early Christmas present from there. Coming up next on the James Show, the City of Addison will not be putting it to their voters on whether or not they exit DART. Very disappointing news coming up on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.